Today's video is going to be relaxed and informal. It's a good video to watch if you're just having a lazy day. I hope you all are having a good year so far. Hey guys, welcome back to Small Trees. I know it's been a little while. I'm going to give you a kind of rundown of what's been going on. I've just been a little bit busy. First, I'm going to talk shop a little bit, I guess. I've been growing some seedlings from seed, both trident maple, and I've taken a lot of cuttings of my twisted pomegranate. So next year, we're going to see if I can start selling those in the US. So keep an eye out for that. I'll show you what we've got going on. I'm going to give you an update on the big maple, the cyclone maple, kind of show you what's going on with it and just give you a general walk around in the garden since I've been gone for a while. If you guys have any specific updates you would like, please don't hesitate to let me know. I've started a new job, I'm a little busy, but I'll be happy to try to, update you however you would like to be updated. Anyway, let's take a walk around and see what else is going on. I've filmed the rest of this already. I'm going to show you this first because I figure this is what most people are interested in. This is the Twisted Fusion Maple project where I think it's like a 3-part playlist, and I had a frame that I built, and then I wired all the seedlings to the frame, and that was about 2.5 months ago maybe, before everything budded out. So this is what it looks like now. And I'll go in close, get around some of this stuff and show you what we're looking at as far as fusion. There's not much yet. You can see that our twist ties are holding up, which is good. I don't want to mess with it too much because I don't want to bump anything, but I'm sure if we get up in here, around and see if I can find a, looks like a spider web. I don't want to stick my finger in there. It doesn't look like we've got any fusion yet. What we're going to be on the lookout for with this tree, this season at least, is from what I've seen on the top of these trees. They said on all the projects that people have done these, I said to watch out and not let the top fuse too much, because if you do, right in here where I've got this wide, if you let that fuse too quickly, you're going to end up with a kind of an asymmetrical or a reverse taper here, where this is going to be thicker than some parts right below it. So I'm keeping a close eye on this section to make sure that once it fuses, we can go ahead and cut off most of these leaders and just leave maybe one. Down in here. The good news is I don't think we have many seedlings that have died, so we should have a pretty complete fusion on this tree. And I'm really expecting by the end of the year to have this tree mostly fused, because I have a really long growing season. It's in very good soil. It gets good light. It's protected from the midday sun by this tree. And so I'm really excited to see what we get after 1 year with this tree. I'm not really working actively on any projects right now. We're just letting the trees do their job and grow. But if you have any questions on any techniques, or if you're interested in any trees or anything like that, please let me know. I've got, I still have wound putty and t-shirts and chopsticks and things like that available on my website if you're interested. And again, I'll make an official announcement when I do, but I will be looking to probably start selling some trees, probably on the website or via email. You can contact me on the website if you're looking for something specific in the meantime, and we will see if we can't accommodate you. Okay, so as I said, I've been growing some seedlings this year. I bought some online and I stratified them. I bought a pound, which was about I think about 25,000 seedlings, and I stratified them and I planted them in the greenhouse, and these are what I have right now. Definitely not 25,000, but I do have a lot of them planted kind of in the garden area, so they're kind of all thrown in with the weeds and everything else. So we'll see what they look like after a year, and hopefully they're large enough to sell. I have some that are a little bit larger, such as, oh goodness, that's not even, such as this. Hopefully that will be, you know, a foot or so tall after the end of the year, and those will be a good size to sell. We've got several that have planted in the ground. I did the video on this tree a couple of months ago. Cannot really see it now because it's leafed out and it's very happy, but this was one of the ones that I made you know, making something out of nothing video. Really ugly root base. The top was just bad, so I tried to cut into it to make it a believable broom style in the future. And as you can see, if I can zoom in and get it to focus, you can see a little bit there. The callus has begun to form already, so it looks good. I really should come back in here and shorten these branches that are growing up right now, because they are going to thicken really quickly. I need to start introducing some ramification even during the development phase if this is going to be believable. Otherwise, you're going to have two poles here, which is not really ideal. So that is a little update. This one's growing nicely. It's already firmly in the ground, and that one, you know, we dug out and replanted, so it's grown a lot already this year. We've got a lot of these trees. These were ones that were either planted on washers. Some of them were planted through metal, but I believe this section were mainly planted through washers, and a few of them I'll let grow. You see, I gotta be careful. Every once in a while I've got a little maple seedling, but these have been heavily fertilized, and I was just going to let them grow this year. So some of them are kind of weird looking, but I think we'll get there with them in a year or two. After this year, we can probably adjust this root base and cut it more aggressively, and it might actually turn into something. A lot of these, the roots were either poor or I worked on them and I reburied them, so I'm not really going to uncover those just yet. It is early in the growing season, even though I can come up here and you can see, for example, the first one I just showed you has grown about 1.5 feet already this year, as has this one. So we're getting a lot of good growth on these trees, which is exactly what we want. They are planted a little close together, but I'm working with the space that I have. We've got some of the smaller ones planted here, and this is just space that was freed up, I guess, when I sold a few trees. And if you've ever bought a tree from me, please let me know in the comments kind of how it's doing. I'm going to be trying to sell some larger trees as we go along, trying to make up some space here. I've got, let me get over here. This, don't know if this video will be before this current video or after. This was this is a rough bark trident maple. Doesn't really seem like it's very rough to me. It looks like a regular maple almost. But we're working on an air layer on this tree, and it didn't work last year, so we cleaned it up and we redid it this year. This has very nice leaves, and it's actually flowered and has seeded this year, which is really neat. So I've got actually tons of these seeds. It'll be interesting to see if they'll actually you know, grow, or if they're just what's the right word, infertile, I suppose. I don't know what the right word is. We've got beautiful weeds here in the garden. It looks edible, but I doubt that it is. Probably wouldn't try it. We've got several, these are second year, I believe, twisted pomegranate from cutting. You can see a lot of them, I leave them growing in really funky angles because this will twist as it grows, and in a year or two I'll probably cut it, you know, a little bit up here and already have a nice little twist. I've got several small cuttings that I've just taken out of the greenhouse and planted in the ground, and this is kind of what they'll turn into in a year. I've got, let's go over here. This is something that I have not made a video on this year, and I may not even be able to get to it with all these weeds, but this little tree I took an air layer off of with a little tool. I think I made the video spring of last year maybe, and the tool was kind of hard to use, but the air layer was successful, and I planted it right next to the other. And here it is. I don't know what it's going to be because the root base was very uneven. I was really hoping to get some growth this way as opposed to what I've got here. This is just grew off the bottom and is growing up. It's gonna be really ugly. Maybe somebody out there would like it though. We'll see. We've got a couple of our project trees. This is one that I'm pretty excited about. However, it looks like some of the soil has eroded and exposed some of the roots, so I need to fix that. This is one of the little projects where I planted about 10 or 12 maples together through a tile, and I don't feel the tile now. I don't remember if I've separated this one or not. But anyway, the hope is that this will fuse at the base and have a really nice base in a couple of years, and then we remove most of the trunks to have one trunk with a nice, really flared base. So that will be interesting to see how they turn out. I've got 3 of these actually. I've sold a couple of our project trees to free up space. I do have this tree, which has been in several videos. It's been in and out of a pot. I put it back in the ground this year because it looked like it was having some health problems. So I'm going to put it in the ground, or I have put it in the ground, and I'm going to let it recover this year. So it is trying to bloom, as you can see here. I don't think that it needs to fruit though. That's too much stress on the tree. So this is actually the mother tree from which all of these other pomegranates have come from. So that's interesting. We have here one of the pieces when I separated I separated one air layer and then I cut it into 2 trees to see what would happen. This is one of the 2 trees. It is alive. One side of it, as probably could be expected here, died back. So one branch is dead. However, the second branch on that part of the trunk is alive. So this is going to be a really cool tree in just a couple of years. It's already got the twisting kind of down to the base, and then it's going to come up and go this way, and it'll be really nice. So that's going to be something that'll be interesting. I know this is a really informal video, but I thought it was just nice to do something like this for a change. Oh goodness. Okay, so here's a tree that I've not made a video on at all, and I'm not going to for a while unless you count this one. So this is a twisted pomegranate that I purchased, I think it was the beginning of last year. And I purchased it because you can't really see due to all the foliage right now. It has a very nice gentle corkscrew motion up here, and I really thought that when it started to twist that it would really emphasize that. So I left it in the ground and left it to grow. It didn't grow a lot last year. I really think this root base though is going to be something special. Even though it looks like not much right now, it's really going to accentuate the tree in a year or 2. But it got shaded out last year because I had one of our other project trees over here that had shaded it out, and so it didn't grow a whole lot. However, I've cleared up the space this year, so it should be good to take off this year. Here we have what I believe is going to be my next really nice tree. It has a very flat, very radial Nebari, and I made the video on it earlier this year about a thread graft on it. And as you can see, we had to kind of force this tree through, but it's growing and it's healthy, and without really agitating it, you can kind of see. Let me set the camera, prop it on my hand here. Well, it's not going to focus, is it? But you can kind of see, if I pull that back just a little bit, that it's starting to fuse already on this end. The other end is what is important, but the good news is this means it's growing, and so far it is accepting. So we'll check the other end probably toward the end of the year, and separate this if it's fused on the other side. We've got a couple more in the background. We've got a little twisted pomegranate there. It should be a nice little tree. This tree is the first tree that I ever bought. It's ugly. I tried to perform a ground layer when I first bought it that failed, and so it's left with this kind of ugly scar. And this is another one that I was going to take an air layer off of last year, and the air layer failed, but I kind of changed my mind because this tree again has very nice leaves, and I wanted to take an air layer, but I was kind of sentimental about it, and when it bloomed this year for the first time, it kind of made me want to keep it as maybe a yard tree just to have it, because it's been through a lot. It's moved about 10 times and it's still alive and kicking and healthy, so probably going to keep it as is. It's also shot these runners way off everywhere, so it's kind of just looking for sunlight any way it can. Two more here of our project trees. These are two more of the ones that were planted through a tile. Let's see if I can, yeah. So you can see right down here, there's still the metal tile. And I believe in the video in the spring we had partial fusion on a couple of the trunks. I'll dig here just a tiny bit to show you. So for example, here we have beginning of fusion between 2 or 3 or 4 of the trunks, but we need all of them to fuse before it's going to be believable, or at least they need to be all mostly fused before I remove any trunks. The same goes for this guy right here. I believe these were planted slightly farther apart just to see how much of a difference it would make or how much longer it would take for them to fuse. I was hoping that, you know, these outside trunks would have roots go inward, and then these coming outward would fuse. We'll see. We'll see. We've got a lot of little seedlings. Like I said, most of these are a couple feet tall, and I'll select these in the fall for what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to sell. So again, I'll probably be starting to list these either on my website or on one of the Facebook auction groups. So if you're interested in them, let me know, and we can make some sort of bargain, I'm sure. Now, the last thing I want to show you, as I'm walking past, this is all grown up with weeds already, but we have a lot of our trees that have been planted through mostly metal, as you can see here, and they've been well fertilized. So we have every little flag you see is where I have trees planted, even though you may not be able to see them right now. So those will be dug up or looked at least this fall. I hope you enjoyed the little tour of the garden today. In the next video, I'm going to show you cleanup of an air layer that didn't take last year. As you can see, there is a lot of callus tissue, and it just rolled over the cut that I made. So we're going to go back and address that, and hopefully get this to layer this year. Until next time.